yeah, welcome to your 61st look at the FIM Monster Energy Motocross of Nations. We are in England. Jason Weigandt and Jason Thomas. Qualifying race day is over. We have a lot more coverage of the normal press day on this show because we had real racing. Look, JT, we know that the RacerX fans are biased in favor of the Americans. Their first thing they're going to ask is how did Team USA do? If they look at the results, not good. I think they were 7th or 8th overall today. Ninth in the end, the way it turned out. Okay, it was dripped from 8th to 9th late. That doesn't sound good. So give us a silver lining here if you're rooting for at least a podium for Team USA.
Well, let's be clear, I'm biased too.
Okay,
right?
so I mean, look, you're wearing it. You're wearing it, yes.
But I think it's really important to remember they only take 2 scores today out of 3.
Yeah.
They're going to take 5 out of 6 tomorrow.
Yeah.
So some of these countries that finished near the top, Spain is one I look at immediately because Ordell Oliveira's score, he got like 12th or 15th or something. They didn't even use that, right?
Today,
so,
but he's got to have a score for them tomorrow, and that's going to probably bring them down.
It just changes everything.
Yes.
So I think getting too high or too low on Saturday is a really bad idea. What it does, though, it's a learning experience. It sets you up for a really good gate pick, which we're going to be fine. 8th, 9th, 10th gate pick, no problem. You can get a good start or a bad start from there. So I think for Team USA, who has never ridden this track, you just have to take the learning from it and apply it to tomorrow. And then I think the other countries like France, Spain, they're all smiles after today.
Yeah, it was great for them, and Australia was good too. Those were the 3 top scoring teams today. I got to give you credit on this. You talked so much all week about the MXGP guys know this track. They know this track. They know this track. And my gosh, line choice has such a dramatic impact lap after lap. One inside, one outside, and you could tell. I think Plessinger and Webb, they were still figuring out lines their entire race today.
Yeah, and it's one thing to know, okay, this is the way the track flows, but as the track starts to develop, if you've never seen it develop, how are you supposed to know where to go? And I'll give you an example. Prado, in that first MXGP qualifier, the lines he was using at the end of the race, like going outside before the finish, drifting across lines, he was completely reinventing this racetrack. That's something that guys like Eli Tomac that have never ridden here, they're going to go back and watch film, try to apply that, but how are you supposed to? It's honestly, I'll answer the question for you. You can't know how those things are going to develop without racing here before.
Appreciate having fans back here. All good. I heard from Team USA that Cooper was using 450 lines on a 250.
Correct.
They're telling him tomorrow, free practice, treat it like a moto.
Yeah.
Put string laps together, not lap pull in, lap pull in.
He was very cautious, right? On a 250, you can't be cautious. You can't rely on the power to drag you out of a corner because you simply don't have it.
Yep. So Webb did pull an amazing start with the 24th gate pick. I don't know how. He almost whole shot that moto. I'd say the one silver lining for Team USA was there was about a 3-lap window midway through the MXGP qualifying race where Beast Mode Eli Tomac had arrived. He figured out the lines. He was going fast for a while.
Yeah, and then that's the silver lining, right? You saw flashes of that, right? And I think you really have to lean into those things and say, okay, what was working, right? You saw that Jeffrey Hurlings was able to pull back away from them. What happened in that moment? Did you lose your rhythm? Is there something we can adjust? But I think you're just looking for the positives going into Sunday because, let's face it, this race is unadulterated chaos on Sunday. So you don't have to win every moto. You don't have to win any of the motos to really come out on top tomorrow. And that's what I think Team USA has to look at is let's be consistent. All 3 of our guys were solid. And don't get worried about the minutia of how each individual lap went.
Now, as far as that being solid on Sunday, that is where Team France makes its money at this event. The Netherlands team with Hurlings and De Wolf, the Australian team with the Lawrence brothers, the talent is undeniable. But here we are again, and France puts everyone in a good position where they get 2/3 and a first today. Tom Vialle was brilliant in the MX2 race. This is what France does, man.
Yeah, they suck the life out of this event in the years where they're solid. And you look at everybody else had their little problems, right? The Netherlands, Koldenhoff, I think he had a rear brake problem. But everybody has just their own kind of issues, and that's the norm here. It's like, how do you minimize the mistakes? How do you lean into the strengths? Unless you're France and you just go out and dominate. So I don't think it's going to be that easy for France. It's normally not, but that was a really strong Saturday for them.
Last piece that we'll mention for the American fans, race within a race. I think we all know Jett Lawrence. He might be the guy in America, not Pro Motocross champ this year, but everything else. So I think a lot of American fans would also say, well, it'd be cool if Jett went out and beat all these guys, but he didn't race MXGP, and there was already a lot of talk about that. He won his open moto over Ruben Fernandez. Typical Jett ride, didn't look like it was a stressor for him. But that's on the radar. Can the Australians perform? Because I almost feel like they're a representative of American racing at this point.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to race within a race tomorrow. So when he goes head-to-head against Jorge Prado in their MXGP versus MX Open Moto.
Moto 3,
You have to assume that Prado's going to get the start, right? And Jett had a launch device start problem there, so I think his start will be cleaned up for tomorrow. But he hasn't raced somebody with the sprint speed early the way that Prado can go, and Jett likes to kind of suss things out, be really patient, wait, and then go. If he waits, Prado will be gone, right? So I think Jett has to keep that in mind, and I just love the strategy there. Can Jett respond to what Prado does really well? So I think they're the best two riders on the planet right now. Short story, we're going to get to see them go head-to-head in at least one moto tomorrow.
Yes. So overall today, France, solid as always. Spain had a really good score, but their 250 rider, that's going to make it tough on them. And that was also the fear with Australia. Kyle Webster, probably the best rider in Australia right now. A lot of pressure to deliver in this window of the Lawrence brothers. He was fast.
2 crashes, though.
2 crashes, and 13th. So he's got to clean that up.
Well, and it's not something that would keep them off the podium, that one finish, but if they want to win, right? They've never won this event. That's what they're all looking at doing. You can't have that 13th, or at least if you do, it has to be 1, and then you put all the pressure on Hunter and Jett to be lights out in all 4 of their motos.
Absolutely. So we learned some things today. Team USA's got to get better, there's no doubt about it, but nothing has been disqualified or taken out of play. It's going to be wild tomorrow. I keep thinking about this. When an entire thing and a year worth of bench racing comes off of a one-day race, remember how we write off Anaheim? We write off Fox Raceway. We don't really overthink it. Nope, that's all one day. One day.
Yeah, and I think Saturday is like a great NFL quarterback. Don't get too high, don't get too low. It matters, but it's not everything on Saturday. So tomorrow will be a new day. We can wake up and it could be raining, and all this is for naught anyway. But that's a typical Saturday. You want to get excited about it, but in the end, nobody's going to be thinking about Saturday when it's race day on Sunday.
All right, thanks to 6D for backing our first look from Matterley Basin, and we'll have plenty more videos wrapping up the weekend as it goes on. Now we're going to show you how the qualifying races worked out today with a brief summary of it all, and we'll give a shout out to 6D, our sponsor, their patented Omni-Directional Suspension system inside the helmet. Well, they're committed to better brain protection unlike any other. So check it out at 6D.com. But a special shout out to 6D and one of the original innovators and inventors of that helmet design, Robert Reisinger, who we lost earlier this year. It's going to be a really cool event. The Road to Recovery Ride for Reisinger at Glen Helen on October the 18th. Sign up, go to road2recovery.com and look for the Ride for Reisinger. They're going to have a who's who, pretty much any great professional motocrosser that lives in Southern California. They're going to have clinics and riding instruction all day long. The likes of Rick Johnson, Jeremy McGrath, you name it, they'll be on hand. So go to Glen Helen on that day, and all the funds go to Robert's family. Thank you, 6D. First moto of the day is the MXGP class. Jorge Prado, the best starter in the world. We watched practice starts today, and he was unbelievable. He delivered in the moto, got out front early, sprinted away. Tim Geiser ended up right behind him in second. Really no surprise to see those two running up front. The real highlight of the moto, the fans were excited. Jeffrey Herlings fell early. Herlings was coming through traffic, and then Eli Tomac caught fire. He started to catch Herlings, and then Herlings started to catch Ken Roczen. Germany had the last gate pick today. Somehow Roczen turned that into a 5th place start, and we had the Herlings, Roczen, Tomac battle that the world should have seen 1,000 times. We got it for about 2 laps today. Eventually Herlings makes the move on Roczen, and Tomac, after a few burner laps, backed it down. There was no panic or alarm in the Team USA camp. He was happy with his riding, and Prado goes on to win the MXGP Moto. Hunter Lawrence was 3rd for that entire race until he fell late, and that moved Francis Roman Fevre up to the 3rd place spot with Lawrence 4th. In the MX2 class, terrible gate picks for Team USA, but somehow Cooper Webb almost pulled the whole shot, but he did not have the pace in this moto. Eventually drifted back outside of the top 5. Up front, Tom Vialle, absolutely dominant, but maybe the fastest man in MX2 right now is Lucas Koenen. Didn't win the title this year, that went to Caden Wolf, but he went off the track and had a crash, so that drifted him back. And Koenen, man, was he putting on a charge. He caught Vialle late, and then he crashed. Vialle goes on to win the moto. This is what France does, solid performance. And I'm sure Caden Wolf will be better tomorrow when you take the crash out of the equation. And the final race of the day was the open moto. It was Ruben Fernandez, factory Honda rider, out front for Spain. Eventually Jett Lawrence able to overwhelm him and take that moto win. Aaron Plessinger was able to move forward a bit, had a battle with the Netherlands, Glenn Coldenhoff toward the end, and I believe it was the 7th place for Plessinger. So an okay performance for Team USA today, but Spain looked very good, getting a moto win from Prado and a 2nd from Fernandez. But tomorrow, more scores will count.